Hi everyone, it's me, Tim. Today I want to talk about leveling and progression. And this is actually me answering a question from, and I hope I'm pronouncing this user's name right, Stavros Nicolau. He basically asks, I would love to hear your thoughts on experience leveling progression design, how XP is gained, how it's spent, progression restrictions, etc. So, got a lot of thoughts on that. If you've played my games, you've probably seen that I have modified leveling in almost every game I've done. I've modified how you get XP and I've modified how you spend it. But first off, I want to just talk about there's this idea that floats around about abandoning levels. I've heard it, I've thought about it. I basically think, though, that most players either like or need some kind of gauge, some overall gauge of how they're progressing in the game. So, for that reason, I just like keeping levels and keeping XP because it keeps things simple and makes it very easy to point at something and going, that's what's happening. So, I'm going to break this down into basically two areas. One, what gives XP, in other words, how a player would gain experience points while playing the game. And two, how they spend that XP. Both what they spend it on, maybe when they can spend it, those kind of questions. So let me talk about what gives XP first. I've tried a bunch of different things. I've tried giving XP for killing enemies. I've tried giving XP for using your skills. I've tried giving XP for finishing quests. I even tried, if anyone played Arcanum, you get XP every time you successfully hit an enemy, and you get XP proportional to how much damage it took. Meaning, if you damage a monster for a lot of health, but it only has a little bit of health, it just takes a little bit of health and then dies, and you get that XP for hitting it. If it has a ton of health and you hit it for a lot of health, you get that XP, a lot of XP for hitting it. This automatically made tougher monsters worth more XP. It divided XP among the people who were doing the damage. There were a lot of problems with this. Your companions would take XP from you. In multiplayer, the other player would take XP from you. Healing didn't gain XP under something like that. So you then had to put in some system for gaining XP for healing, and then you're kind of just back to I'm going to give XP for doing things. Based on a lot of this and what I saw, my favorite way of giving XP is for finishing a quest. And here's why. I've talked a lot about how I like nonlinear games with quests that can be solved a ton of different ways. I don't want the game to ever impose upon you its way of thinking you should get XP. So if someone tells you to go into a warehouse and bring them back an object, I don't care if you sneak in the back and pick the lock on a window and climb in, grab the item and go back out and run away. I don't mind if you walk up front, kill the guards, grab a key off of one of them, go in the front. I don't mind if you walk up front, bribe the guard, have one of them let you in, you grab the item, you leave. Or all the myriad variations. I don't mind if you go around back and use an explosive to blow open a door. I don't mind if you pickpocket a key off a guard who's wandering around and then you run over to the door that the key is for and sneak in that way. Don't care. All that really matters is you got the object and brought it back to the person who asked you for it. So that's why I think XP should just come from quests. That divorces how the player solves it from the actual problem, or which in this case is do my quest. So over the years, I've gone more and more towards quest-based XP. I really pushed for it in Pillars, and Josh went with it, and it's what I wanted to do in Outer Worlds. Now, once you get that XP, The reason I think XP should progress in some bar to a level is so that players know how close they are to going up. Just that sense of progression is really important. Then when you go up a level, it's that granular event. You filled up the XP bar, boom, you just went up a level. Here are skill points and perks. And I'm talking in general. I'm going to call them skills and perks, but what I mean is perks are anything that's very coarse-grained, that has a low range, meaning you don't get 20 of these. You may get 1, you may get 3, you may get 5, but that's probably the most. Skills are very fine-grained in that they have a bigger range. They map to fine bonuses, so if the range is 1 to 100, it may map to a percentage bonus from 1 to 100. Perks are great for things like you can carry more, and every time you buy a perk, it adds 50 pounds. Skills are great for you swing this weapon, and this is your chance to hit. In a general, I think of both of them as things both of these things are things players can get better at. But the reason I put them into perks and skills, in addition to the granularity, is the more I've thought about skills over my career, the more I'm leaning towards learning from failure. I think I did a video on it. I've learned, and I know I said this a million times, I've learned more from failing at things than by succeeding at things. I even said I've learned more from my games that were failures than by ones that were successes. I learned less from Fallout and more from Temple about making games because I failed at more things in Temple, and that taught me how to make games better more than succeeding at things in Fallout but not knowing why I was successful and then trying to do some of those things again in Arcanum and not being successful. What this translates into the game is whenever you attempt to use a skill, if you fail, some progression associated with that skill is increased. When you succeed, it doesn't increase at all. What this means is when a progression bar on an individual skill fills up, that's when you can spend points on it. The reason I like this is this provides the curve that I think is the best curve to have and the most natural curve to have for skills. When you are not very skilled, you will fail often. Those bars will fill up. And when you finally go up a level, you will have lots of options of what you want to spend your points on. And you may not be given enough points to spend on all of them, so you may have to decide, well, I want to increase these. Then as you keep playing the game, if some of those skills already have the progression bar full, well, they're not going to progress anymore because they've already filled up. But other ones you'll fail at. Those progression bars will fill up. You go up a level again. You will again decide where you want to spend these points. Gradually, as your skills get really good, you will fail at them less and less. Maybe it's a combat skill and you're hitting more frequently. Maybe it's a lockpick skill and you're picking locks more frequently and you're not failing as much. Those progression bars will slow down. So when you go up a level, the skills you'll be able to spend your points on would be the ones that you failed at, the ones you didn't increase. What I like about that is it means you will occasionally go up a level and have tons of skills you can spend points on and not have enough points to spend. I like that kind of choice. But later in the game, as skills progress less rapidly, you might go up a level and not have anything to spend your skill points on yet. And I'm okay with that. You can bank them. In fact, I think points, whether they're in perks or skills, should be spendable at any point. I don't mind if you're in the middle of combat. I don't mind if you pause and go, I'm going to up my melee skill. I don't mind if you pause and go, I'm going to up this perk, which lets me do more critical hits with my combat skills. I don't mind if you up this thing and say I'm going to be able to pickpocket even in combat. I like it because it basically reflects that right there in the heat of the moment, you had a realization that you could do something. I think that's fun. I think it It feels a little gamey, but I don't care because that's what I think is fun about video games. And I think, again, it has the progression that players would like of banking points, whether they're for perks or skills, and using them when they need them. So that's another option. You may have tons of skills that could be increased, but you may go, I'm not going to spend any points on them. I'm going to wait till I go in the dungeon. Oh, there's a trap that needs disarming. I'm going to up that skill. Oh, there's a lock on that door. I'm going to up that skill. Oh, there's somebody I need to talk my way past. What worked in the past? I have an idea. You up that skill, talk your way past them. I like that. So if I were to make a game today, I would make, it would still have XP bars and the player would have a level. I would have XP only come from finishing quests. I would have perk points that you get when you go up a level that you spend on the perks when you want, and I would have skills that you can only spend points on when their individual progression bars are filled by failing at them. And I think that would make one of the most interesting progression systems that I can think of, and it meets most of the requirements I have for design pillars today. So I hope that answers your question, Stavros.